Introduction to Computers, BCA 101. This is the Tuesday group. And this is similar information that's in the Monday, Wednesday, Friday whiteboard review. Try to be a little more brief in this one. All right. If you remember, we had these clouds. We talked about the IT area, we talked about campus, and we connected those, and then the campus connected the internet. I'm representing the internet up here. So this is more detailed, and there's a couple key things we want to be aware of, and then we'll break this down more and more detail-wise as we move along. In this unit, we need to understand how we communicate. And so there are rules for transmission, those are protocols, how much data we can move, bandwidth per time, and then how are these devices addressed, what kind of addresses. So we're going to cover those a little more specifically. So let's just take a look at a couple items here from NIAX network. So in our case, we have a PC. That PC is with some medium wired to a switch. That switch has some wired running to a multi-layered switch, which is wired to a router, and that router is acting as a firewall. So we have a switch that can figure out what devices are on it, more on that later, and it communicates to a multi-layered device, which allows us to do a number of things more than we need to worry about here. Connects different classrooms, and also connects to us a group of servers. We go through a firewall, a router that acts as a firewall, and then we have connected here, this is fiber optic between us and another router on campus, which connects us back and forth to the internet. A couple new things here that wasn't in the other one. One of these connections is about 60 million bits per second, talking about bandwidth, and another connection is about 30 million bits per second, talking about bandwidth, how much we can send out. Now, these numbers were from last year. They may be a little bit higher. All right. The wireless area campus coming through the access points typically uses the 30, and the wired part of campus, the rest of the campus that's wired, that's using the 60. So that one doesn't stop the other from working. We have two different ways to do that. All right. So coming back in here, we have some fiber that comes back into the firewall here on campus, and there's other things not exactly like this, but it's pretty close, and that connects to a multi-layered switch which connects all of campus. All kinds of classrooms and devices all over campus, whether they're access points where we connect wirelessly or whether they're just PCs in rooms. That brings it all together. All right. Now, we talked about a little bit about access points in which we connect to Wi-Fi. A couple added things here. For example, you could have a laptop in the classroom. We use an example, and that connected to an access point actually out in the hallway. Somebody could have their phone connect to that access point out in the hallway. Now the phone, I want to distinguish here, the phone, its method of accessing a tower using cellular, more or less texting or calling, that's a different protocol than when it accesses it through 3 or 4G. That's a different protocol. And if you're here on campus and it's accessing in through the Wi-Fi, that too is a different protocol. But all of them allow the phone to communicate. All right? And then I gave the example up here. Mediacom has all these people connected. I have a cable modem in my house. I have this router in my house. And that router acts like a router. It acts like a switch, and it also acts like an access point. I can plug devices in as if it's a switch, We can connect wirelessly to that with our laptops or iPads or phones. People walk into my house with their phone. My kids, their phones automatically connect. They have the password and so forth programmed right in. So all of them then can get access to go out to the internet. Now, how do I, when I'm at home, I go out, I'm going to use a blue line here, so I go out from my laptop, I go out into the internet, work my way through, and somehow I'm able to come back in here and get the Angel. Just like all of you, anybody who can connect to the internet can get the Angel. Somehow or another, there must be some type of addressing that allows that to happen. So, we're going to talk about that next. So I'm going to move to the and so here we have addressing. We have two different types of addressing. Okay, we have physical addressing and we have logical addressing. Physical addresses are in every device that is an end device on a network. They're in there. They're called media access control, or it's called a MAC number, and it's unique in every device. Why do we call it media access control? It allows us to communicate to the media. What kind of media are we talking about? What kind of media? We're talking about either wired, fiber optic, or wireless. So if you go back over here, remember I said this smartphone right here, it could connect Wi-Fi. That's one way of connecting, one protocol. It can connect here or it can connect here. All those would be wireless. Now my laptop at my house, I could plug it in, that'd be wired, or I can use Wi-Fi to connect to that. And then a lot of the communications, for example Mediacom, once it gets out to my house and gets to their box, they use fiber optic to bring all that traffic back to their destination. And then they are the ISP, at least the ISP that I use, and they're allowed to put the traffic into the internet. Now, the other addressing is a logical addressing. That can change. You don't know what your logical address necessarily is unless you statically configure it. What we use is an internet protocol, so it's called an IP address. And so that IP address, your device gets it. So when this smartphone, when that's here on campus, and person connects to the Wi-Fi here, they get what is known as a private or internal or local. Okay, I can sometimes call it a local, or sometimes I call it an internal. The appropriate word is private. They get an address that they can use in here. Okay, then if they go out to the internet, as soon as it goes out to the internet, right up here, into the internet, then they're automatically given a public address. Okay, out on the internet. So it really works good because you can have your smartphone be at my house, and your smartphone connects into my network. Now it gets a private address from my device, and then it goes out right here. This device gives it a public address to use out on the internet. And how do they keep track of the public address? The ISP assigns it. Your ISP has a group that it can use, and it gives you a public address for your router or your modem, depending on how they connect. So internally, your logical address will come from whatever device it gets it from, and then it gets converted to a public address when it goes out to the internet. So when it's in the internet, no matter where you go, when it's sent back to the internet knows that public address belongs to this ISP. So they send it back to the ISP. Now the ISP knows that one public address belongs to you, so they send the signal to you. When the signal gets into your router, somewhere's your devices, like I got my laptop or my wife's laptop, this device knows the physical address that matches the IP. So it takes and puts the right physical address, it uses that address to send the signal to the right device. And it works that way all over the internet. All over the internet. And that's enough for today.